together to relate to Armenian issues. I think it's a very appropriate topic of Armenia, challenges posed by the free market economy. And to introduce the panelists that will be speaking, I myself would like to introduce Dr. Ara Khanjian. Dr. Khanjian is a professor of economics at Ventura College. He received his PhD in economics from the New School for Social Research. He's also worked at the Economic Institute of the Ministry of Finance and Economy in the Republic of Armenia, developing economic laws and labor laws. Dr. Khanjian?
Okay, basically, the first few panels, the morning panels yesterday, this afternoon, prepared this conference for this session, where we're going to discuss the effect of world financial crisis on Armenia's economy, where the economy, we could say that in a sense, kind of collapsed during the past 6 weeks, which caused the poverty to increase. And we're going to focus on two aspects. One is poverty, and one of the panelists, Nranyan, is going to focus on the discussion of poverty. And one of the main difference between socialist and progressive political parties from the rest is the concern of poverty. For socialist parties, elimination of poverty is a priority. And the focus of economic policies of progressive governments around the world is to raise the standard of living of the poorest people in the country. Secondly, just before the financial crisis in the world, spring 2008, the leadership of Armenia, which is dominated by supporters of the neoliberalism, conservatives, including today's Prime Minister, Vikram Sarkisyan, who published an article during spring 2008. He published an article. In that article, he basically analyzed that the role of government in the economy is drastically decreasing, and he was projecting, just a few months before the world financial collapse, he was projecting that in the near future there will be no more need for government in our economy. And then the world financial crisis occurred, and Armenia's economy collapsed, and the role of government increased, etc. And our two panelists, Markar Melkonian and Ara Nranyan, are going to focus on the economic aspect of financial crisis and the negative effect of 2 decades of neoliberal conservative economic policies. With respect to our panelist, Ara Nranyan, graduate of Yerevan Institute of Economics and Financial Studies. Nranyan was elected to Parliament of the Republic of Armenia in 2007. He lectures at the State University of the Republic of Armenia in Yerevan and has authored several studies on the economic development of Armenia. It is really a pleasure for us to have a member of Parliament of Armenia as a panelist for our conference. Markar Melkonian, teacher, writer, and veteran solidarity worker, teaches philosophy at California State University, Northridge. He holds a PhD in philosophy from the University of Massachusetts. Sara Anjargolian, Los Angeles-based writer, photographer, and attorney. Currently, he is a deputy city attorney with Los Angeles City Attorney. In 2002, Sara moved to Armenia on a Fulbright scholarship. While in Armenia, she joined a documentary film studio based in Yerevan. She is currently working on 2 documentary photography projects. The first tells the story of 9 separate families living between Los Angeles and Armenia, and the second, which we are going to see today, documents poverty in Armenia.
Thank you all for attending. It's been a long conference, a lot of talking, but a lot of interesting talking. I've really learned a lot from the presentation so far. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, great. I want to thank the organizers too, the High Help of Ara Khanjian, and the media sponsor, KPFK Pacifica Radio here in LA. I guess there's a danger in me talking first, in that I might mention some stuff that's going to be mentioned by Ara. So I'm going to try to not repeat a lot of information that you've already been given. I'm going to try to keep this presentation as short as possible, too. Everybody else has too, but you know, I see if I can come in under my allotted time here. What I want to do is I want to talk about the picture of capitalism, like this, the standard picture of capitalism that was offered up to, let's say, Eastern Europe, the former Soviet Union, almost 20 years ago. And I'm not going to try to get inside the heads of the demonstrators in Opera Square, at least those demonstrators in Yerevan's Opera Square who were holding up pictures of Ronald Reagan, and they were repeating a lot of the slogans, anti-Soviet slogans, slogans for secession, and sort of free market slogans that were being repeated there in Opera Square. I'm not going to try to get inside their heads. I knew some of these people. You ask them now what was inside their heads. They have a hard time figuring out what was inside their heads back then. A lot of them do not. You're not going to find out. As a matter of fact, I've sort of done my own informal poll among Yerevansis. Well, how come you were out in the... You don't like it now? You don't like capitalism? Well, how come you went out and you were yelling in the opera for secession from the Soviet Union, the end of the Soviet Union, and you had all these... You were embracing all of these free market slogans. And they say, I wasn't there. Oh, you weren't there. This guy wasn't there. That guy. Who was there? No one was there now? So people seem to be reluctant to admit that they were even in those demonstrations for secession from the Soviet Union now. And probably for good reason. So I'm not going to try to get inside their heads. That doesn't seem like a rewarding thing to try to do. Instead, what I want to do is I want to look at maybe what was inside the heads of maybe the most thoughtful free marketeers 20 years ago in Armenia. I'm going to try to look at maybe the best picture of capitalism, free market capitalism that was being presented to these people. And what I want to do is, I think a handy way to do that is to take a look at the claims of Jagdish Bhagwati, his influential book, In Defense of Globalization, just because it's a handy way. He summarizes very well and argues for, in a compelling way, the standard picture of, let's say, economic globalization. Okay? And by economic globalization, I think some other people define globalization. Basically, let's say, the kind of contemporary capitalism that Armenia has embraced. Okay? So call it economic globalization. He's given he claims that there are basically seven benefits that economic globalization brings to poor countries. And these are that economic globalization reduces poverty, that it improves the lot of women in poor countries, that it mitigates child labor, that is to say, it reduces child labor, that it promotes democracy, in some sense of that word democracy, that it enriches local cultures, that it raises wages and labor standards, and that it protects against worse environmental degradation. Okay, now these are the claims that he makes in our book here. Do not go out and buy the book, go down to the library. And it's a book worth reading, but get it from the library, check it out from the library. Anyway,